There has been a huge update on the legacy and hacked weapon fix, as well as new gun changes, a few buffs, and even stamina issues. It's news time. Hello everyone, welcome back to another Fallout 76 video. I'm back for another in-depth report on the latest changes directly from the public test servers, featuring the Nuka World on Tour DLC arriving soon to the live servers on December 6th. In this last update, Bethesda fixed a critical issue that was affecting many non-legacy weapons, but the path there was not so easy, as the very first patch ended up being taken down. Anyhow, in this news, I will also go over new changes for a few weapons and address a stamina issue I discovered. Lastly, I will showcase the new Nuka World Pennant that players can unlock with this PTS. I hope you're ready. Let's dive into the details then, shall we? If you feel quite confused or lost regarding what's going on with legacy weapons on the public test servers, you're definitely not alone. After all, Bethesda has been implementing a series of changes and fixes in a rather quick and messy manner. If you are new to the matter, I recommend you watch my previous news with more information on how everything started. Anyway, on November 16, Bethesda shut down the PTS to bring a small update live, but things went so wrong that they could not bring the servers back up until late in the next day. Community manager Lady Devon even kept players updated with a series of announcements confirming that the developer team hit a snag in the new build, and as a result, they needed more time to iron things out. But even then, something else was not right, as I am about to disclose, and after an hour or so, Bethesda took the servers down once again to investigate the problem. But what went so wrong here? Well, it seems like the developer team was performing some sort of A and B test, and clearly one of them was not viable or intended to go live. Thus, why the build was immediately shut down after the player reports started coming in. But this build is interesting to analyze, even if it's no longer live, because it brought a more balanced and sensible version of the legacy weapon neutralization, as I call it. I spotted this summary by Datamined, who explained the major highlights of the 1-hour patch very well. First of all legacy and hacked weapons kept their original legendary stars and all effects, but now all the deemed illegal mods/effects would cease to work when it comes to combat. In other words, they would still show up in the previews and descriptions, but they wouldn't work in terms of gameplay. Another change was about weak and strange legacy effects like Stalker's melee or quad crossbows. They were now present in game again and allowed to remain functional. And even the Pepper Shaker got to keep its explosive effect as a main ballistic weapon, losing it in the process if modded into energy though. Well, whether you agree or disagree with such changes, it doesn't matter anymore, since this build was taken down shortly and apparently scrapped, as an improved version of the older build came live instead. Once again, legacy weapons lost their illegal mods/effects, as well as the respective stars. Keep in mind that illegal doesn't just refer to hacked or injected effects, it also refers to effects which can no longer drop in-game, according to Bethesda. As a result, many ex-legacy weapons became handicapped, and some of them are hardly of any use anymore, since they now inflict way less damage than other legendary weapons in-game. I think the most notable case here is the Gatling Plasma, the legacy one of course, with the Splitter mod. It's now a weak green flamer with very little range and an insane low damage. Just look at that. Even the real flamethrower has a better range, so you better scrap that mod or just stop using that weapon when the DLC comes live, really. But the good news is that Bethesda managed to fix some harsh side effects from this new legacy fix. For instance, all the bug-named weapons have been restored. In the previous build, all named weapons lost most or all of their effects, and some normal legendary weapons were missing some effects too. Obviously, none of this was intended. The weapon system became very messy and utterly broken, so it's good to see they were finally able to tackle this problem down. Anyhow, with this new build, Bethesda implemented yet another change, Now, the explosive legendary effect only applies or works with ballistic weapons, excluding all sorts of energy guns. However, this general rule is subject to exceptions, as I will explore in another segment. Now, the big question is this build final? Is this what will carry on to the official servers on December 6th? Well, we are exactly 2 weeks from the Nuka World release date, so it's not like the developer team can change or implement much more, especially since there will be no time for testing anymore. Meanwhile, I spotted community manager Vault of Daedalus stating that the PTS is a testing ground with lots of bugs and forts. He also confirmed that what we see in the PTS is just for the current build and not exactly what will be final in the live game. Now, I would 100% agree with such words. If this PTS had just begun, with plenty of time ahead, anything would still be possible. But with just 2 weeks left, what we see in the PTS is most certainly what we will see live in a couple of weeks. It would be silly otherwise. Can you imagine weeks or months of testing just so Bethesda would end up releasing a different and untested build instead? It makes absolutely no sense. So to give you a clear answer, yes, this should be the final product. Another indicator I spotted that the current build is the final one is through this other statement from Daedalus, where he confirmed the dev team wants to test the normal events rotation as it would work in the live servers. Therefore, why they changed it from the 3 new event rotation only. It's a clear preparation for the DLC release. Lastly, as I was voicing this video, Bethesda announced the PTS is now fully closed. Yep, nobody can log in anymore right now. It's not a logical assumption anymore, it is a fact. That, my friends, this build was and is the final one coming in December 6th. Moreover, I spotted this dialogue between a player and a Bethesda's moderator, where the player points out Bethesda proved they are able to make a more targeted fix by releasing the 1-hour build with slightly different variations and a huge appeal to many players. However, Bethesda answered with cheap arguments such as coding is not that simple, or sometimes things are not as simple as we would like them to be. Well then, couldn't we use such codes for like everything that goes wrong in life? Wonderful. It's a bit comical in my view, but this adds up to the fact that legacy weapons are not going to return anymore, especially with all the side effects on the weapon system fixed. I know that in my previous video I put such option on the table because honestly it made sense at the time. There were many indicators suggesting it could happen at any time. But now it's looking the other way around. I have spent the past days testing X-Legacies and everything seems to be working well. Even named weapons are fine once again, so there's no real reason to back down anymore. They discarded a balance or rework path from the very beginning, so in my view, only major issues could make them go back with this decision. With that out of the way, you can rest assured that legacies are about to come to an end, starting on December 6th. Lastly, I just want to point out that this build is far from being perfect. In just a few days, I spotted several reports on missing effects for different types of weapons. Sure, the amount of reports are minimal now while compared to the last build, but it still proves that some more fixing is required. Alright, what about hacked and injected weapons? How is Bethesda addressing the problem with this patch? Well, I won't lie to you, this was very difficult for me to research, as I do not own any hacked items and I don't exactly get along with hackers. So I spent days trying to find evidence on the matter and I eventually succeeded, so let me explain. First of all, I spotted several posts and comments on social media about how hacked weapons are still working with the last build. And I do understand why some people seem to think this way. It's because not all hacked weapons have been neutralized. I spotted this long compilation list shared by Datamined, quoting Mapex, a credible data miner, which basically lists the injected hacked mod types stripped from weapons and those which are still functional. All in all, Bethesda neutralized many hacked weapons, yes, but not all. There's still some live and running, thus the confusion and mixed reports. For example, I read on Twitter that orbital strike launchers are still working, but I have no way to confirm this. As for the fixed hacked weapons, I was able to find visual proof on 2 different types. The 20% more damage on a bloodied explosive handmade, which is rather buggy, I think. In the preview mode, the 20% more damage doesn't show, but if you inspect the gun, the legendary effect returns out of the blue. It also loses 1 star, despite displaying 3 effects. It's really confusing. As for the effect in combat, in gameplay, the explosive is still working, obviously, because it's a ballistic weapon, but the 20% damage doesn't work anymore. Or do you really believe a hacked weapon with damage increase would struggle so much to kill a simple gulper? I really don't think so. The second sample I got features another bloodied explosive handmade with a burning effect. Just like the last one, the preview hides the injected effect, but once inspected, you can see the effect again. 1 legendary star is also missing, so the exact same as before. Now in combat, something strange is happening. The target will still show as burning, as in the visual effect triggers, but no extra damage seems to apply anymore. So just like the 20% hacked handmade, this one is also stripped from its effect, at least when it comes to functional matters. But with a lot of inconsistencies and bugs, I would say. I do believe this is the general rule for all hacked weapons. They lose their illegal mod in preview, despite showing it in inspection mode. But then, in combat, they are all neutralized. Well, at least for the fixed ones so far, we have already established that some hacked weapons are still not fixed in the last segment. Moving forward, there's plenty of other hacked items in-game, besides weapons, which have not been addressed by this update/DLC, including hacked armor, power armor, and or cosmetics. But this is definitely the first step to battle hacked items. Hopefully Bethesda will continue their work and cleansing in 2023. Okay, next let's talk about a system change for weapons. With the latest PTS patch, Bethesda implemented a new rule for the explosive legendary effect. It now only applies to ballistic weapons, which obviously excludes all energy weapons by default. However, there are a few exceptions. The Brotherhood of Steel pistol is one of them. It gets to keep the explosive effect as a main ballistic weapon, so if you roll explosive, it will work fine with all the receiver mods, except for the Fusion Energy 1. For an explosive Brotherhood pistol, if you equip the Fusion mode, then the effect will be neutralized. It ceases to work, as shown here in my quick test. I no longer take damage from the explosive bullets, because once modded into energy, there's no explosions anymore. They are cancelled, nullified, as you wish to call it. But this sort of rule is not consistent right now. For example, the Pepper Shaker should work the same exact way. To start with, it's a ballistic weapon by default, and it has an energy mod option, just like the Brotherhood pistol. However, it can't even roll as explosive right now, which is very strange. The good news is that Bethesda seems to be looking into it, so there's still hope it will function as the last weapon. Another exception which defies the new rule is the harpoon gun. Again, by default, it's a ballistic weapon, but you cannot roll it as explosive right now. Rumors suggest it would be too overpowered if explosive could be applied, but I couldn't find any official statement on this one. And all the legacies which have been neutralized now seem to be buggy too. The explosive effect is gone from the description as shown, but in combat, the explosive effect can still work as tested here by Savannah Lion. I tested myself too with my friend Misha's Legacy Harpoon, X-Explosive, and it is gone for me. No explosions triggered on use, so again, things seem to be really buggy for certain weapons. Another weapon change you should be aware of is about the Radium rifle. This weapon has always been classified as energy, but now with the latest changes, it's been labeled as a ballistic weapon. As a result, players are now able to naturally roll the explosive legendary effect for Radium rifles. This one is a bit sketchy since radiation damage is not exactly ballistic. last I checked, but I really think Bethesda is trying to simplify things here. Either way, you can now roll a much stronger Radium rifle version than before by acquiring the explosive effect, and yes, it's working. I tested it, and besides giving myself rads while shooting at the floor, I also can injure myself a little bit from the explosion damage. Well then, I think it's safe to say that this weapon just received a neat buff. Following the harpoon weapon inconsistencies, many players have been worried that their railway rifles might lose their explosive counterparts too, but Bethesda already came forward to confirm this weapon type will not suffer any changes since, well, it's a ballistic weapon to start with, and it can naturally roll the explosive effect. Now, I did a quick test to make sure everything is in order, working as always, and as shown, I was able to naturally get an explosive effect by rolling the stars. And secondly, the effect is also being applied in combat, as shooting at the ground also hurts my character. Everything is working just bueno. Something really odd I came across in the past few days in the public test servers is regarding stamina or the AP bar. To be quite blunt, it's as if the stamina bar freezes and you either get no stamina for minutes, or you can just enjoy infinite amounts of stamina until the bar restores its natural features sooner or later. So far this happened to me 3 times during the new Ultraside Titan boss, but it could be happening way more often and anywhere else too, because it's not like I'm stalking my stamina bar all the time. But this is really concerning. First of all, AP bar issues are not new. They often happen when you first load into a server or when the server is struggling. At least on PC, that's 2 main reasons for this bug to trigger. However, in all these cases, none of these conditions applied. I mean, I was in the server for hours and the server was fine. It was half full at best, so why is my stamina bar acting up like this? Most of the time this bug is or was beneficial, as I could just spam VATS, sprint, jump, and so on. However, if the bug happens when your HP bar is depleted, boy oh boy, then it's a true nightmare, as you are not able to do much. And the worst part is that you don't know when is the bar going to come back to normal. It might take seconds, minutes, or even a relog. You don't know. Meanwhile, I reported this issue at Bethesda's official Discord server, and the fellow players have already confirmed they experienced issues with their stamina too. So clearly, something is not right with this feature. Let's just hope it's some sort of PTS problem. Maybe the server power there is quite weak, and that it won't carry over to the live game. Because, my friends, that would be a true disaster, to say the least. To finish up this video, let me show you how the Nuka World on Tour PTS Pennant looks like, courtesy of Rot. Bethesda has announced it a few days ago, but they did not disclose its looks. At least I couldn't find anything besides a statement. It's a very rad pennant featuring the Nuka World flag, as well as a Vault Boy with a bottle and cappy. It's a pretty clever and representative pennant, I would say. Lastly, to unlock this new free item, all you have to do is download the public test on PC and log in at least once. Well, not anymore because they just closed doors, but if you did that, then rest assured you will get the pennant. It's the same exact requirement that they used for the past PTS sessions. As for today's random bug, I selected the camp access tags coming to you at any point in time. After all, it's a bug, which can happen in both live and PTS, and it appears to be extremely rare. Lucky me, I guess. Anyhow, I had this one on the public test a couple of days ago, and it got me scared. I even thought maybe Bethesda changed something, like added an extra tags to camp fast traveling. You never know with them, right? But nope, that's not the case. Thankfully, it was just a very silly bug. Alright, that's everything I have to report for the time being. I'm Marta Branco, thank you so much for watching. A huge shout out to Misha for borrowing me his legacy weapons in the PTS once again, and to NWOT for helping me test some of these legacies. If you enjoyed the content, feel free to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this, or consider becoming a member or patron, because remember, in-depth research and content quality does take a lot of time to pull off. Well then, I will catch you all very soon in the next one. Until then, take care, adeus, bye bye!